Oh, I'm on. Hi everybody, it's Marsh. Today I've decided I'm going to talk about how I became to have no self-esteem. Let's apologise. I'm on the swinging chair outside. I'm like kind of like rocking, I'm trying to keep myself up, and puppy's not helping much. Anyway, so for me, I believe the final straw had to be when I was in my second marriage. Now, to me, I felt that my second marriage was perfect. I just felt like I had a perfect life. Had a man who I believed was the dad my children needed, and you know, he was there for them. They called him dad. He was stepdad. They were young when we got together, so and it was their choice, which was a bit of a shock to me. And you know, we used to have every other weekend together, because every other weekend they would go to the natural fathers. So we had a family weekend and a adult grown-up weekend. So we were pretty balanced, you know. We had work, we had fun, we had family, and we had date times, and we, you know, go on holidays and take trips out and do all the family stuff. And we used to do all like the single stuff too. And he worked, I worked, and I started my studies. Now, the thing is, it sounded perfect, and you know what? It was. You know, we had a routine, he'd help me. I'd come home from work, he'd run me a bath, I would do all the packed lunches and cook dinners, and he would help do that. And it was just, to me, what I believed family's all about. What I believe having a husband and children, that was my dream life. And I was living it way beyond I ever expected to, but I was living it. So my life was perfect, you know? But obviously, it wasn't meant to be perfect, because I discovered quite by accident that he was having an affair. Now, I'm trying to remember which one the first one was. The first one, I believe, was when I got a phone call. I finished work before school pickup. I'd gone to meet my friends. We'd walk to the school together, pick the children up, come back to her house, have a cuppa, get in the car and go home. It was generally pretty much afternoon routine. Now, I had a phone call, and it was just a number. I answered it. Nobody was there. Well, there was, but nobody was there directly to speak to me. Now, when I was trying to listen to what was in the background, thinking maybe someone's knocked it in the pocket or whatever, I heard these two women having a conversation about some wonderful man who'd been the night before, and anyway, I'll spare you the details, although I wasn't spared them. And I remember thinking, I know that voice. I did. And then they mentioned the name Andy, and I thought, okay. So I ran into my friend's house, told her exactly what I'd heard. So, and I told her who it sounded like, and I happened to have her number in my phone. So we rang her, did not answer. My friend rang her off her phone, there was no answer. And obviously I was like beside myself, because I knew this woman very well. Her children were in the same class as my youngest child. She had twins, and I was just numb. I don't know if you've ever been cheated on, but I was numb, and I was like, didn't really know how or what to do. And I think you just become vacant when you experience something like that, and that's before any emotion kicks in. The only emotion you've got, zilch, nothing, like almost dead, because you just have no freaking idea if it's real or if it really is happening to you, and that's before any of the questions come up. And anyway, yes. So anyway, we go to the school, put children, try and carry on normal, go home and try and carry on normal. And because of a phone call, and I never said anything to him when he first came in from work, just everything seemed normal. From his point of view, I was just being the normal mum and trying to function. And I don't know about you, but when you're hurt, you have kind of, for me, I always got OCD. Whenever I was upset or angry or hating or frustrated, I had to clean. It's like my thinking time. So, you know, everything gets spotless. I mean, I'm not a messy person, but obviously in the spur of emotions and anxieties and things, I become super freaking clean. And that's how I just deal with things. It's just, I don't know, clean your blues away or whatever it is they call it. I suppose there's many explanations for that one. So anyway, yeah. And I decided to, because look, you think you're clever, you love them, but men sometimes they're not smartest animal on the planet. I'm sorry for you guys that are watching this. Gabrielle, I don't want to include you into this one because you're not your normal guy, thankfully. But no, men are not always the smartest species on the planet, and I'm not being sexist by this. But if they're going to cheat, they don't do it wisely. They're not clever. I know this. I know this from experience, and this is not just by this first time either. So anyway, so I started searching. I'd gone in his wallet looking for stuff, and I found a receipt for a phone, a new phone. I thought, why has he got a new phone? Now, I did the bookwork for his business, so I knew it wasn't anything to do with the business. It was a bricklayer, so I just did paperwork, and he wouldn't have needed another phone for that. And then, of course, it just got the better of me. I just can't function. I just can't function like that. I'm one of these, I can deal with what I know. When it comes to the unknown, I can't cope with that. And I've been like that, I believe, now all my life. I think that's still something when I don't know something, I don't like it. It's like I need to find out. And it's not like a possessive control thing. It's like I can deal with things I know. If somebody puts something my way where maybe I'm kind of not challenged, because I can do challenge, but where I'm unprotected. If I feel I'm made unprotected, that's when it's something I know I need to deal with. I need to sort it out. I can't live with that feeling, because then all the abandonment and abuse and all that, it all comes back up. It doesn't matter what you go through. Something like this happens, you always feel everything in one go. And anyway, so I found this receipt in his wallet, and I questioned him on it, and he couldn't lie. He tried lying, but I've always had this ability to know when people lie, and I knew when he was lying. And I remember just going through it all, and anyway, I told him who I thought it was, because I heard this phone call and all this stuff. I mean, he was panicking. He had fear written all over him. He just didn't know what to do. He suddenly became a 4-year-old who's in trouble, and that's exactly how he acted every time I caught him out. And anyway, so this phone, yes, sure enough, he bought her a phone so they could contact each other, and it wouldn't be her number, because obviously I had her number, and it wouldn't be in his, if I ever found that number in his phone, it wouldn't be associated to her. So that clever little trick didn't last long, did it? And anyway, it's like, yeah, it's all going to be over, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, I've been forgiving, kind, and didn't want to break my perfect family home bubble. I decided to, I don't know about let it go would have been the word, but deal with it, okay? it was never going to happen again. Never going to happen again. And I believe that to some degree. So anyway, time went. I don't know how long when. I can't remember those details at the moment. And I recall something just not right one night. Don't know where we'd gone to a pool match or something. And I don't know, I got a feeling. So I went for a drive around the corner. Yes, the children were in bed. And I think my daughter was only 10, but she was the eldest. And I just went, she may have been 11 actually, 10 or 11. And I remember driving around the corner to her house, and round the corner from where she lived was, sure enough, my husband's van. So I just pulled up, walked up to the house, looked through the window, and I knocked on the door. And when I knocked on the door, I saw my husband run into the kitchen, putting his top on, and her running to the door, fastening herself up. So, you know, no need to take that imagination any further. And seriously, the first and the only time in my life have I ever hit anybody else. And they opened the door, and I just smacked them both straight away. And I was just, I don't know, I was so, I just hit them physically hit them. And he went home. He got in the car and went home, and I went to walk away, and I walked back like fuming back, running back to the door. And anyway, she was like, "Do you want to talk?" I went, "I don't want to talk." I said, "I want to punch you." She went, "Well, come on then, do it." And I was like, "No, I don't want to do that." So I got in, and I remember sort of like saying why and all the rest of it. And he said, "Well, you know, she said she was going through a rough patch." I went, "But you know we're married, you know." To me, it's like, you knew we was married. Why would you do this? And she actually also, I'm not sure if they were, I think she was married, and he was working away and everything, and this is why the phone, so it didn't show on her phone either. I was like, you cunning pair of devious little shits, do you know what I mean? And anyway, so I just had a little talk, and I don't know, again, your hair is just whoa for us not here. So I went home, probably cried an awful lot, carried on life as normal till the next day when I was at work, and we lived in a small town. And I told the ladies I worked with I was doing school, like a school dinner lady, where we prepared the foods and served it and all the rest of it. And the girl, we'd gone to do the school pickup. We did the school pickup, and my stepmom, she lived in the same town as us. Obviously, she had to know. And I was just beside myself. I was distraught. I didn't expect this to happen. And I remember her walking up to this woman at the school, and she was like, "What, this one here?" And I was like, "Yeah." "Hi, puppy." And she looked at her, and basically she turned around to her and said, because she had a mark on her, so I obviously gave her a good one. And she said to her, "If you'd have done that with my husband, you'd have been your face would have been far worse than it is now." So of course the people around her who didn't know suddenly got a little story, and then it just spread like wildfire. The news, everybody knew, which really isn't great when you're, you know, the one that's being dealt the bad card. I mean, I worked in the school. I worked in like the seniors as well, so these were like 14, 15, 16-year-old kids that were very fond of me, and they were hearing, and they were like, they used to see us on night outs, and used to be like, "I'm going to get him, I'm going to get him," and be like, and it's horrible because everybody knew my business, and I didn't like that. I didn't like everybody knowing that. So I kind of, anyway, got over it. And then another one happened, and then another one happened, and then another one happened, and I was just, what's wrong with me? What is wrong with me? What? You know, I've forgiven you all these times, and you're still doing it over and over again. And you know, I remember on one of the last times, I was like, I can't live like this anymore. I did not want to not be with him. It was my second marriage. I did not want to be divorced again. I already had this. I was in my 30s, and I was like, I've already been divorced I'm remarried, you know, I'm on my second wedding, I've got 3 children, and what is wrong with me? You know, I'm ugly, I'm a fat, and I wasn't either of them, but at the time, you know, don't I do this enough? You know, he had sex on tap with me, I cooked his meals, you know, we did everything together. And anyway, do you know what it was? Because I was doing all my studies and I was like achieving things. He felt he was left behind. So instead of being the supportive husband who he should have been, really, you know, instead of supporting me and being proud of, you know, I'm gaining these new abilities, I'm learning these new skills, you know, instead of being by my side and being proud of, you know, it's all right me being proud on his arm, but what about being proud of what I was achieving? No, he felt like he just wanted more attention. And then I realised that when we first got together, again, I must have been so gullible back in the day, but when we got back together, he said, because we'd both been married, and I'd literally just come out of a marriage, and I mean, only a couple of weeks, so I was like really early days, and he said, yeah, he was in the same situation, but I found out later on, no, he wasn't. They were still, okay, they weren't having a relationship, and they hadn't done for almost a year, but they were still officially man and wife living in the same house. Not even she had no idea that their relationship was over. And I'd become her, and I was like, I cannot believe you've done this again. And for the record, he did it to a few more women after me as well, so I know it wasn't me. But anyway, this is not about all that. This is all about why I got so low in my self-esteem. Because my first marriage, I felt like he didn't want us, you know, he didn't want us. He wanted the material aspects of a family, you know, he wanted the house, the car, the money, the status. However, I didn't feel that he never gave us any time. And all these things he was working for, all these dreams, they weren't our dreams. He said, you know, I'm doing all these hours for the family. So he kind of abandoned us. He kind of didn't be the man. The second one was everything I wanted, and that wasn't good enough either. So I didn't know what to do with myself. I continued to do my studies, however, and I did excel in them all. I come out of that marriage and finished the studies I started with something like 7 diplomas over a 4-year period. So I'm pretty proud about that. I'm pretty proud that I still managed to do it during, you know, everything that was going on. However, that's academic. Maybe it was my escape to study and housework, obviously, because I'd moved back to my hometown, and he'd bought the house with me because I wanted to move back because I couldn't live in the town anymore of everything what had gone on. And then what had happened then is, the day before our contract was signed, I found out he'd done it again. I was like, oh, and we couldn't do anything about it. We had to go on because it was like the final contract, and we was all packed up ready to move. So I moved into the house. He didn't. He went back to his mum's because that was the final straw. He'd come and visit us, and Tommy didn't love me. And then Valentine's Day came, he'd left me flowers and stuff. Tommy, he loved me, and just constantly was just like, but he loves her more. Loves who more? Who knew? So I just felt like I was shit. Wasn't good enough for nobody. You know, I tried these two, and I just went on some self-sabotage. I just had no interest in looking after myself. I looked after everybody else, looked after my family and my dad, and, you know, everyone that I was doing therapies for, or then I went into care, so everyone I was caring for. So I went and I cared for everybody except myself. And that is when I didn't even realise until I started working with Yelena and Gabrielle, I didn't even realise that that was the turning point for my patterns. That's when my patterns really started to kick in, how I was attracting the same type of men, and I was attracting people that needed something from me, people that needed my love, but I wasn't getting it in return. So to me, that was my creation of my lowest of self-esteem, was the second marriage, because in my ideal world it was perfect, but I wasn't seeing the whole thing. I was seeing what I wanted to see, and I was loving it. I was just loving what I had, but I have it now. I do have it now, I'm very proud to say, and I'm still very grateful for the lessons I've learned, but it is a horrible, harsh reality check, and I would hate anybody to lose their esteem so much they went down the road I went down. And I'm not going to go through any more details, but I went through relationship to having cosmetic surgery to making some not so great choices, and that was life then. That's what cards I've been dealt with, and I've overcome them, and I have empathy and compassion for people that's been through this, because I do own the t-shirt, and I've lived it, and I now know what self-esteem is, I know what self-love is, and learned the hard way, but I learned. So anyway, for today, it was just telling you how I got to my lowest self-esteem, and how I understand what it is, and how I know that self-esteem does exist, and we can live by it, and we can overcome the shitty low self-esteem. So now, that is it. I'm going to say much love, and see you later. Bye.